Thanks, Chris. I don't feel like that's me that he just introduced. So I will tell you that my first and foremost job description was a volunteer in kids ministry. When I was about 11 years old is when I started in nursery, just like you guys. And then from there, God has completely changed my journey to be something that is more rewarding than I ever thought could happen. And isn't that our God? He is unfathomable. He is omnipotent. He is omniscient. He is amazing. And he has brought me from a place of a broken home with lots of abuse into a place where I am helping to understand families that are going through some of the toughest times in their lives. So thank you for having me here, Bridgewater. I love you guys. You're amazing. You'll see that there are lots of fidgets in the back. That's my fun table. So if you haven't stopped by, please do. I have some free things that you can take home with you. And if I can't give you something because it's the only one that I have, I'm sorry, but I'll make sure that Denise knows or somebody knows how to get it for you so that you can have that for your kids' ministry. It's my passion. So if I have it, I want you to have it too. I'm here to tell you about discipline, which is a horrible topic, which when Denise said, you're going to talk about discipline for kids with disabilities, I thought, are you kidding me? But it's also the number one thing that I hear all the time when it comes to kids ministry or any summer camp that I've been to is how on earth do we help these families and these kids understand that discipline is a real thing and God gives us discipline and we need to do it right because we're the people of God and they're the children of God too. So I came up with a beautiful acronym. You guys have in your pamphlets one page that is arrows, and it spells out discipline. You got it? It should be after the set. Awesome. See, I love it when people nod their heads. Okay, so you also have a blank sheet of white paper on your chair, and there's extras. So if somebody threw it away or wrote on it, that's fine. You can see another chair and grab one. I'm going to do a little activity for you as we first start off. The first slide spells out the first three letters. So the first spot on your pamphlet for discipline spells out direct me. I'm going to talk in first person because I want you guys to really understand the depth of what it means to help somebody with a special need or disability. I need to be prepared for your plan, whether it's rally, small group outside of here, so many different avenues where you can affect a family with special needs. And me, as the kid with a disability, I need to know what your plan is. So take out your white piece of paper, and I'm going to give you a series of directions to do with that paper. Now, there's 3 rules. You are not allowed to ask questions. You have to work very quickly, and you have to do exactly what I say. Got the 3 rules? Okay. Everybody show me your paper. Perfect. Fold it in half. Fold down one corner. Flip it over and fold down another corner. Flip it back over and fold one side to the crease. Do the same on the other side. In 5 seconds, you can show me what you have. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it up. If my goal was to get the same exact result, how did I do, y'all? Right? Sorry if I spit on the microphone. Okay, so I need participation because kids with disabilities need to participate in our classrooms and our settings. So who wants to tell me what do I need to do better if I want the same exact result from all of you? Better directions. Visuals. More time. Show the end result. I need a piece of paper to do that. Okay, anything else? I heard something. More specific, yes. Anything else? Assessment. All right. Check for understanding. I like it. Anything else? Allow questions. Fantastic. Thank you. I'm like, that's my first rule. And yeah. Anything else? All right. Open up your papers. Let's try again. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll work. Does anyone need more time to open their papers? You all laughed like I'm... Okay, hold up your paper as if it's landscape orientation on a computer. Perfect. Please feel free to ask your neighbor if you're confused or look at what I'm doing. Is everyone ready to get started? Awesome. Fold your paper down longwise like a hot dog roll. It's going to look like this, a half sheet of what you just had. Does anyone need more time? Perfect. Now we're going to take one corner and fold it down to the crease like a triangle. Everybody look like this? Great. So now flip it over, and you're going to do the same thing to the other side so it looks like a triangle. Does everyone's paper look kind of like this? Maybe a couple creases, but we're good. Wonderful. Now you're going to take that top part and you're going to fold the entire thing down to the bottom crease. Are there questions? And now flip that paper over and do the same to the other side. Can anyone guess what we're making today? Raise your hand if you had a paper airplane first time around. Nice. Overachievers. You're welcome to lift up the flaps on the side. And when you're finished with your project, it should look like this. Shoot me an airplane, friends. I didn't want a pen. Thanks, Amy. All right, so what did I do that worked for you as the student in that exercise? Showed us what it looked like. Slowed down. Back. Gave you more time. Yes. Did you have one too, bud? Okay. Who said something? Clear communication. Anything else? Showed us. What did you say, sir? All right. I'm sure. Imagery. Hot dog bun. Landscape, triangle. Yeah, use things that were common to most people. Good. Okay, so simple exercise, right? It all comes down to what kind of direction are you giving the students that are in your classes or in your rallies or wherever you are? Are you giving them direction like I did first, where I was talking fast, you had a time limit, everybody has to be this way or no way? Or are you expanding the way that you're speaking and the way that you're acting so that you're involving everyone in your entire environment? So the second one that I want to talk to you about is involve me. Not only do I need to be prepared for what kind of plan you're giving, hey guys, we're going to make an airplane today. That's a very easy way for me to say, this is what we're going to do. I bet you more than 50% of you would have the same result if I just said, we're going to make an airplane today, right? So involving kids in your plan means that they want and they desperately need to have that routine set before them, and they're part of it. So let's say I'm going to open up and tell you guys that I have a child who's 7 years old and she has sensory processing integration. We recognized it probably when we were going to Bridgewater, which was 7 years ago, and I was pregnant with her, right after she was born. Very quickly, she couldn't go on swings without screaming. And I'm not talking like, woo, you're going way up in the air. I'm talking screaming. Because her ability to process what that motion is was awful for her. She also constantly had things in her mouth, way more. I've got 4 kids, so she was my third. I know kids put things in their mouths. very different. It was, we are afraid for her life because she's going to put things and ingest things that are very unsafe. There are a lot of other signs to that as well, but very early on in her life, we realized this. And what we realized as a family was we need to make sure she understands the expectations of every single thing that we do as a family. So I can't say, hey, we're going to go to the park today, guys, to all of my kids and not give expectations of which park, what's going to be at the park. I've probably already gone and visited the park. I might pull up my phone and show her the things that are at the park. I prepare her and involve her in my plan. A lot of times I'll even say to her, you've got about 5 different parks that we've gone to recently. Which one do you want to go to? Does it matter? No. There's a billion parks around our neighborhoods. If I give her that involvement, then she's much more likely to participate in the park experience and want to go on the new things or the fun things that she has. I know that's a really simple explanation, and I know you guys are not taking kids to the park, hopefully. But as far as involving in what you're doing, giving kids that ability to say, can I make a say in this? Because I'm really uncomfortable throwing a ball back and forth. I don't know how to catch. I don't have the fine motor skills to jump up and down on one foot. Can you involve kids in the things that you're doing so that they feel comfortable and safe in your space? Because something as simple as saying there's a swing there without knowing that my kid is terrified of swings, not anymore, praise God, would have kept her from even getting in the van to go to the park. Okay, so let's backtrack for 5 seconds. My kids love church. They've loved it since the day they walked in the doors. I am very grateful to have Bridgewater as one of the first churches that my kids had when they were growing up. I don't live here anymore, sadly, but when we started going to Bridgewater, it was drilled into their heads. It's a sin to bore kids with the gospel. An absolute sin, because the gospel is the greatest news that we could possibly ever share with kids. And so all of my kids were loved in a way that I have never seen growing up. Never. I told you guys I came from an abusive household. The church was my safe place. Nowhere else was. School wasn't, home wasn't. The church was my safe place. And so the fact that Bridgewater instilled that in my kids, that was their safe place, that people loved them to the point where they got to know everything about them. Everything. Kristin Kondratowski, I'm going to pick on you. My youngest kid was titled Nacho when I gave birth to her at Lourdes Hospital because of Kristin Kondratowski. And our whole family knows that we call her Nacho, and now we call her Lucy Goose and all these different things. But one of the first people to nickname my kid went to Bridgewater and was part of her life. So the impact that you have from a mom standpoint, from a mom of a special needs standpoint, is unreal. It will take my kids the rest of their lives through a relationship with Christ because of what you are doing right now. I know I'm preaching the choir. You guys already volunteer. Okay, so involve kids in your plan as much as you possibly can and think about the things. So now I'm going to give you, there's a couple people in your rows usually. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I don't have a lot of time. For you to all close your eyes and talk with each other after you open them of who's that kid that you're like, if they come in today and they throw one more thing at my head, or if they come in today and they're jumping off the walls and they tell me that they had waffles and maple syrup for breakfast, I'm going to lose it. So think in your minds of that one kid. We're all thinking of at least 5, right? Think of one kid without naming names and talk to the people next to you and say, think about it with each other. How can you involve them in part of your plan? You know they're coming in on Sunday. What can you do to prepare for that and involve them in that plan? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Ready, go. I said no names. I'm going to stop you in 10 seconds. Okay, so who's going to be the volunteer to say how you're going to prepare for them and involve them in your plan? There's got to be one, at least one. Let's go with three, at least three. Amy, I'm going to give you the mic. Oh, jeepers.
Give them something to do, like pass out napkins or cups, involve them with the lesson plan, have them volunteer to turn off the light, turn on the light, just different things you can get them to redirect their busyness. Pre-K.
So even pre-Kers can do all of those things. Fantastic. Who else wants to top that one? Amy's good. Yes.
We're starting Awana, so I've got a visual schedule up on the chalkboard so we can point to what we're doing. Okay, now it's puppets, now we're going to sing songs, and that way we can help transition the kids and they know exactly what's coming. And okay, we're going to go home at this point, but first we're going to do games, so hopefully they'll be able to follow along pretty well.
I love visual schedules, and they're so easy to make. If you haven't seen one, there's a couple examples that I have back at my table. You can take the paperwork home. The coolest ones that I've seen are actually like command hooks, and they're on the wall because how easy are they? And they line up, and the kids can flip them over themselves. So it's like the first thing we do is like greet each other, and then when that's done, they flip it over, it's done. And then they go to the next one. So that way kids that have that desperate need for routine are involved in the process. Cool, I love it. One more.
One thing we were talking about, especially with those kids who either need that routine or need to know, is letting everyone know. Like, okay, in a little bit, we have this amount of more time, even though they don't. Some of the ages don't have that concept of time. But like in 5 minutes, we're gonna clean up, and then we're like giving them that warning helps with in a couple minutes. Your parents are coming, or gives them that ability to have that time to process the transition before we like. Okay, now we're putting away the toys, and that helps.
Yeah. That's excellent. And actually, for my daughter, that's one of the biggest things that we need to do for her is, okay, in a couple minutes, we're going to do this. In a couple minutes, we're going to do this. Because the expectations are hard, and kids don't understand necessarily, well, why do I have to clean up? Well, maybe you need to tell them. Very good. I love all of those. Okay, the next one is serve with me. I need to be part of my church. So when you're thinking about those kids, any kid, when you're thinking about families, it is their church too. And so I take pride in saying that there are so many things that you can very easily do to help kids serve in your church. Amy brought up a couple of them that are in the classroom. I'm going to have you talk to your groups for 2 more minutes again, and you guys are going to come up with things that your kids can do outside of your classroom to serve as part of their church. So you've got 2 more minutes. It doesn't have to be the same people if you want to talk around. Ten more seconds. Okay, so this time I'm going to ask for just 2 volunteers to tell me what are ways that kids can serve outside of the classroom in their church. Who's got one?
We have chairs like this in our church, and we have children after church that help fold up the chairs and stack them.
Perfect. Great for also physical activity for those kids who desperately need to move. Who else has got one? Just one more.
In the rally room, we talked about how some of the kids can be involved in the skits and the plays. And Justin had a good idea with that, but that's definitely something where you can pick out the most active or the kid that likes to be in front of his peers and have them do that.
Very good. Starting them off being, little leaders of things, learning Bible really good. All right, I love it. I'm hoping that you are able to at least get those gears start working. So now we have only 60 seconds, because I'm running out of time already, to be able to look around the room and think around the room in your church, campus, wherever you guys are. And I want you to write down somewhere in your packet or on your white paper things that would hinder kids from serving in your church. Now, I'll give a couple examples. It could be the hallways are small, so maybe a kid with a wheelchair couldn't get through them. It could be the doors are really heavy, so kids that are smaller can't necessarily open them without help. It could be the motions are too hard, so kids that don't have good motor skills might not be able to do it. Things like that. Okay, 5 seconds. Okay, that one I noticed was a lot quieter than the other two questions that I've asked you guys to do in your groups. Why do you think that is? Anyone? It's negative. Thank you for speaking up. A lot of times we walk into this process and we think discipline is a negative thing. But like I said before, that God disciplines his children. And so we as leaders, as people that are a part of our church, need to understand that it's their church too. And so as leaders, it's our job to be able to say, if a kid in a wheelchair can't get into my rally room, that's a problem that I need to solve. I love Bridgewater. Absolutely love Bridgewater. And my church is the same way, so I'm not going to pick on Bridgewater for it too. What it says to someone in a wheelchair who can't get upstairs, and there's only stairs on platforms or downstairs to where your kids' ministry is, which is the same in my church, it says, you're not allowed to lead worship. The conference that I was a part of that Chris said for the youth ministry and disability at Princeton Theological Seminary, one of the men on the panel has cerebral palsy. He's been in a wheelchair his entire life. And he's a pastor of a church. And when he accepted the call, he said, I understand that as I'm accepting this call, the pulpit is not available to me. It broke my heart. And I'm sitting on this panel thinking, this man is a pastor, and he accepted a call knowing full well that he couldn't get up on the stage. So I'm not saying that as a bash to anyone. I'm saying that as if it's his calling, he's going to find a way to do it. And it's our job to help him, right? So who cares if you got stairs? Build a ramp. Who cares if you've got Spanish-speaking people here? Start speaking Spanish. If you need to learn some sign language, learn some sign language. So I'm going to show a video to you guys, and we're going to practice this a little bit together. So if you see motions that you want to do, I encourage you to do them. Oh, wait, no, this isn't the same video. Sorry, that's later. So this video first is going to show you a little bit of a glimpse of what it looks like for someone with autism to enter into your space and not be well prepared for it.
we're in a very ordinary everyday situation in the kitchen, and then gradually, as we're working, another voice enters into our workspace, and that voice is contributing to the background, and it's difficult to know necessarily whether that voice, that second voice, is there and available for you. I'm still giving you instructions about what we need to be doing, and then we add a third voice. Gradually, the sensory environment becomes much and much more complicated, and your ability to concentrate gets harder and harder and harder. And then we add a fourth voice. I wonder where you are now in terms of managing to understand, being inside this experience, but also managing to understand what's going on for you. I'm going to give you
The first key to
instruction
control
by the
control.
it will
You can't be
be
assessing
really
unless you're in control of your own life.
So we come towards the end, and I just I invite you to say, what did you learn from that experience? Did you get the thing I asked you to get me?
So, give kids clear direction. Involve them in your plan. Serve with them. Understand who's walking into your class, what environment they need to learn about Jesus, because isn't it all about that? All right, so the next thing, we've got a series of 3 that I'm going to go through as fast as I possibly can. C is choose me. I need to participate in learning. Amy, I'm just going to pick on you because those were great. If you have any small opportunity, no matter what age it is, to say, I want you to be part of that skit. I want you to be part of passing out papers. Anything that you can do to say, I'm going to choose that kid. And here's why. It's not just because we're giving them a job and we're serving with them. We already went through that. This part of it, choosing me, is the unreal opportunity that they have, probably not in their schools, not in their homes, not anywhere in their community, that other kids have, to where I say, I want to be friends with that kid as the teacher, so I'm going to choose him. So what that says to all the other kids in your group is, that kid's not weird or scary or maybe doesn't look like me. My teacher wants to talk to that kid, and my teacher is choosing that kid to do the lesson today. Choosing that kid to speak in front of people. One of my greatest memories in the last church that we were in was that we have a little guy named that has Down syndrome, and his name is D, I'll call him, and he absolutely thinks that he is called to be a preacher, 100%, and I don't doubt it. Right now, he's working on lots of different things as far as his verbal skills go, and he's 13 at this point, but when I first got a chance to get to know him, the first thing he did to show me was he took out one of those like mobile platform pulpit thingies and music stands, thanks, and and he put it up on the stage. He took a microphone and he sang a full song, word for word, and the kid can't put together a sentence. If I didn't know him and that wasn't his passion, I would have never known. This kid can sing a full song. Not only one song, but about 20 different songs that we sing on Sunday mornings. And so what did I do the next week as the rally leader? I said, come up on stage with me. We're learning the motions. And that's what we did. And he served as the motion kids, just like they were, every single week for 3 years until he graduated out of kids ministry and is now in junior high. Every single week. Why? Because he loved it. And maybe the motions weren't as like grandiose as everybody else's. Doesn't matter. He was smiling ear to ear, knew every single song better than any of the kids that stepped in that door. And he was incredible at it. And because he smiled, that's even harder for a lot of adults to do, is to smile up on stage. And he did it willingly. So, all right, choose me to participate. Invest in me. I need to know you want me to know Jesus too. So if a kid is nonverbal, if a kid doesn't speak necessarily English, and you want him you want to learn, okay, we've got to learn how to communicate with this kid. The way to do that is to invest. Talk to parents, just like we talked about before. Partnering with parents is huge. They're your best asset. If you can get in on IEP meetings or 504 plan meetings, if you guys know what those are, any special plan that kids have that are in special education, if you can get in on those and say, I want to be part of your kid's 504 plan, that's an incredible investment. You want to do exactly what the school is doing to make sure that kid's successful. As a leader, that's huge. And what that says to a parent is, my kid's worth going to your church. And someday, probably going to be baptized in this church and is going to be saved in this church. Okay. Prove yourself to me. I need real relationships. There are 284 students in Montrose area school district who are receiving special education services right now. So, prove yourself to me means be in a relationship with those 284 kids and find out who their classmates are that are maybe already going to your church. Where are they? They're not here. We've got some. I'm not picking on you, I swear. I'm just from outside, so I'm allowed to pick on you a little bit. I suffer with this too. I work in a company where I oversee group homes for adults with disabilities. And here's what happens. These kids are super cute. People love having them around. They love talking to them because they can talk to them like a kid. When kids start getting to the teenage years and the adult years, they go into a group home and the church is gone unless they have fully invested and proved that they are worth fighting for. My husband's a youth director of a church. We have a ton of kids with diagnoses all around, things that I never thought youth ministry would look like. And the suicide rate for kids that have mental disorders or autism are staggering. Why? Because they need adults and other relationships to prove themselves. They need us. And we're the church, right? Who did Jesus seek out? Not people like me, because I would have just followed, right? Jesus sought out people that no one wanted to seek out. So who's that kid that gets picked on every single day, shoved in a locker, never called on? Nobody knows how to speak their language, so they just don't talk. Kids who are suffering from abuse, kids who have trauma, kids who are adopted, kids who have gone through things that we would not even begin to understand. Those kids have special needs. And that's probably 99% of the kids that walk into our doors. So when we think about how can I prove myself and be in a real relationship with kids that have disabilities, think of what personal impact that would make if you were the parent of a kid with special needs. If you were the mom that said, I'm going to invite JJ to my kid's birthday party because he hasn't gotten an invitation to a birthday party in years. I'm going to have a play date. They're coming over my house, and I'm going to preface it and say, listen, I know it's not childproof, and he's probably going to get his hands in something, but I've got some fun planned. Can he come over? It's introducing your own children, if you have them. Since I have 4, I could say, my kids know exactly what Down syndrome is, and it's not because that's what I do for a living. My kids know what autism is. My kids ask questions, and I give them books, and I say, let's talk about it, and let's figure out what your questions are. Because 1 in 39 kids is diagnosed with autism right now. 1 in 39. And church, are we prepared for that generation to come through these doors and change the world for Jesus Christ? All right, so here's what I want you to do now. This is the video that I'm going to show you, and I am so over. Denise, where are you? How bad am I? Oh, yes. Okay, 5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes. All right, so we are going to watch this next video, and I want you guys to do motions together with the whole group, okay?
You guys say it nice and loud with the motions. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
T-H-Y. Thy. Will. Be. Done. Thy will be done.
On earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
And the power and the glory.
Amen.
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 Well done. So wouldn't that be fun to teach that to your whole crew? To be a part of that movement? Cool. All right, we have just a couple. Love me, speak my language intentionally. That video was all about that. But we're not just talking about language like ASL or the motions that kids do or things that they tell you to communicate with if they have devices. Loving someone, which we all know, there's multiple love languages. So in this part of this, I always say, reach out to parents and find out, does the kid like quality time? Should I be doing something one-to-one? Does the kid like words of praise all the time? Then I need to be doing that. I have one quick story on him. I promise we're almost done. I serve and support a woman who has impulse control disorder. She's 55-ish. She has very little speech that she can use. She also is missing most of one of her eyes. And she's short in stature, and she's kind of like a bull in a china shop, if you've heard that. And I've told stories about her before here. The woman is the most endearing person I've ever met in my life. She is by far my favorite that I work with, even though I'm not supposed to have favorites. And her whole life, she has loved and fixated on the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, okay? I don't know if she was brought up in church, I don't know where she got it from, but she could listen to that song on repeat 24 hours a day. Not kidding. And so when you're singing with her or you're with her, she knows and has this immediate trust with you if you can also sing that song with her. And so one day last year, we unfortunately found out that she had a lump in her right breast. And so she was, because she has impulse control disorder and she has a lot of anxiety and is on multiple medications, any kind of thing that she has to do with doctors, she needs to do under general anesthesia. So dental cleanings, she has to be knocked out. Anything, mammograms, all of that has to be knocked out. So we went through the process of finding a new surgeon, which you would imagine is difficult because she was afraid of lots of people. So we all went with her and found, finally, someone who was willing to put her under something to say, can we just find out if this is cancerous? So we found a surgeon after probably 3 to 4 months, and it was growing rapidly. And we found this out because her staff usually showers her. And so when we finally got to the surgeon, he said, if I'm in there and I find out that it's cancerous, I'm just going to remove it. So we got the okay from her family, who doesn't live in the area, and he did. So fast forward through the surgery, she does not understand why she's in pain, why she's drugged up, why she has bags of blood coming off of her body, and she's bandaged and all these things. And when I get into, we had about a 3-hour break from midnight to 3 a.m. where we didn't have staff available to come get her, and so, or to come be with her in the hospital. So they promised me that they would have a nurse that could handle it and that was well-versed in disability that would be there. And I said, all right, let me just get a couple hours of sleep. I'll go in at 3 a.m., no problem. Went home, got a couple hours of sleep, went in at 3 a.m. I opened up the door to her hospital room, and I saw a man who was definitely over 6 foot and way bigger than I am, sitting as close to the door as I possibly could imagine. Like, I almost hit his feet when I opened up the door. He was that close. And he was watching, like, Simpsons or Family Guy or something like that at 3 a.m. And I looked over at her, and she whipped her face around at me and said, "Kitten," which is what she called. And I said, "Hey." And I started singing. And I looked over at the guy and I said, "Are you here for her? Are you?" I mean, I'm 5'2", you know. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Get out, I'm fine." And I know I probably would get in trouble for that, but so he left, and I turned off the TV, and I walked gently over to her singing, "He's got the whole world," as slowly and as passionately as I could. And then we together, she has vibrato in her voice, it's really cute. We together sang "He's Got the Whole World" he's got Kristin in his hands, he's got her in his hands, he's got mom in his hands, he's got little children, for hours on end, for days in the hospital. My first attempt was, she needs to get dressed because she was naked. She needs to get a blanket on. She needs her bed raised up with 6 pillows because that's how she likes it. And I spoke her language. It was a song that she loves. And I told the nurses that. But the understanding that I was her safe person at that moment, and knowing that she did no clue what just happened, but she knew I'm there, I'm speaking her language, and I'm doing it intentionally so that she feels safe. She's fine. She's sweet as could be, and she's home and resting happily. That was over a year ago. All right, so now I want you to take your papers and cross out I and N. What word do you spell? Disciple. There's one more E, if you don't mind, one more. Make me a disciple and exceed my expectations. Because when you focus on the including, the involving, the instant reward of having kids with disabilities in your ministries, that's when disciple making happens. Thanks for being with me. I'm going to pray for us. Father God, we are grateful that you made us all in your image. We are grateful that we love you and you've chosen us to love you. And God, we know that you love the little children and that we are a hindrance most times more than not. And so we ask that we would be like you and we would let them come to us because we are your hands and feet. God, I ask that these people who are serving in their ministries would know without a shadow of a doubt how to love these kids the way that you would love them. God, bring them to these doors. Bring them into our small groups. Bring them into our communities. Show us how to walk like you. It's in Jesus' name that I pray by the power of your Spirit. Amen. And there's one more video that you guys are leading off with.
Down syndrome? Well, there'll be a lot of limitations.
Are you sure about that?
They tend to do well performing only the simplest of tasks.
I am a lobbyist on Capitol Hill.
A regular life with lasting relationships.
We've been together for 14 years.
Their cognitive ceiling limits their ability to work.
I own a business.
Low muscle tone prevents any possibility of achievement in sports. I wouldn't expect much.
I was on an Emmy-winning show.
It's a stretch for them to live past their 50th birthday. To be blunt with you, it's a lifetime of limitations.
Your limitations.
Not mine. Not mine.
Not mine.
Not
Mine.